I am so grateful to be here with you all this morning to introduce someone who not only do I highly admire and respect, but just love dearly as a person and now a mother. And of course, a fellow Bronco. I love, Jules, that you got your Santa Clara
I
scarf on.
knew you would love it. I was like, what am I going to wear? And I was like, oh, yeah. You guys, Jennifer just gave it to me too. So I was like,
Ah, it's beautiful. It's so beautiful. We have so much to talk about. I know that everybody that's joining us this morning are not only huge women and soccer fans and supporters of the game, but they love you, and I know they want to hear you, not me. So let's kick this thing off with. We're going to do it in reverse order today, which is the end, and then we'll go towards the beginning, just to kind of, because it's fresh, right? You just made an announcement about retirement, and I think people would love to hear your personal story as to what got you there and what's up right now.
yeah, I mean, I think the obvious one is motherhood completely changes you and gives you a new purpose. Getting to the decision, I think, was clearly for me an emotional one. I think that's very clear in just
Mm.
most of any interviews that I was doing around that time. But yeah, I think the logistics of my life is like super
Mm.
interesting with two athletes, kind of not being able to like move completely my life to a market that kind of allows me to immerse myself in just like soccer, especially obviously NWSL. And then the challenges of, time and sacrificing that with being a new mom and kind of navigating that. And I think most people told me that, parenting is hard. It's just hard. Like what is hard is different at each phase of their life. And so just, trying to navigate going back to my home here in Arizona and then being in LA. And just obviously the support was so great. I think it's just hard to navigate time with my family and having a newborn. So yeah, that I would say was clearly the main and factor, because obviously I was so excited to get back. I didn't think I would even be able to have that opportunity to do there. But yeah, it did feel a little like here I am and goodbye again. So um, and again, it was one of those things, I think, as an athlete, like I wanted to try, I wanted to give it a chance. And I'm so grateful for that time. I learned so much during that time. It's such obviously a short amount of time, but I also think when you get older, you learn to cherish moments a lot differently, especially, during pregnancy and then kind of right after, that question lingering of, am I coming back or not? And I know a lot of people had that as well as myself.
So you just said something about, it was brief, it was short. You're talking about the physical side of things. How is it that, how do you feel physically? And, you know, it was that, how much of a part of the decision was that, or was that probably the smallest part?
That was definitely the smallest part, because I think in playing wise, I felt really good. I was pretty surprised. Obviously, right after pregnancy, it's more difficult to definitely get back. But then, women's body is pretty incredible. Like I
Yeah.
have a great support system. I went from not really kind of knowing how to do it. And, kind of just as time went on, you know, prayed a lot about it, and people just kind of came in my life to support me where I needed it, different types of training, somebody that was, really understood the postpartum body, like just all these people kind of came in my life to support me. And I'm a believer of people need people. And obviously I
Mm.
wouldn't be in my position without the support of my family and friends. And, it just exemplified coming back from having that in.
What was the most challenging part physically?
Like physically, I would say change
Yeah.
direction, like for sure.
That is so interesting because if I had to, if somebody on the street walked up to me and said, "Tell me one thing that's awesome about Julie Ertz that sets her apart," I would say change of direction.
I think maybe that's why, is because the way I defend and play is so much that for me, where like everything that I played was like, I'm not going to come back to just kind of play. Like that's just
Mm.
not the competitive nature of me. So it was like this was my level, And then so coming back, I'm like, that's where I have to be. So I think maybe that is why I say it's the hardest, because it was such a big part of what made me a good defender and a good player, was being able to read and change a direction explosively. So I think that's also why it was the hardest, because my expectations was so high.
I got you. I just want to call a shout out to all the people leaving comments in the general chat. We love you. Thank you so much for showing up. Jules, what was it like to go to this World Cup? We're going to jump a little bit into now. Okay, you're back on the team. You haven't played for, like, how many days out were you from playing?
What do you mean? Sorry. Like, how many days?
How many days were you away from pregnancy to return? Like, what was that time frame?
They told me this like 1,000 times. I think it was in every area. 611 days.
611 days. Like, if I think about 611 days, you're like, no way, that's not possible. But okay, 611 days. That's freaking remarkable.
Yeah, I feel like
and that
I shocked myself with those days, because it didn't feel like I was gone that long.
Well, that's what happens. I'm telling you, with kids, for sure. Sometimes I'm like, how is it that I'm my age, 372 years old, and I feel like I've only lived like 25 years. What is going on? So how many days did you have to get ready between the decision and showing up? Do you know what that is?
So, I mean, obviously right after pregnancy, like, my goal was just to get back to normal, whatever normal was at that time, just to start feeling like myself. So it wasn't in the back of my mind. It wasn't like, oh, could I make this happen? But there was just so many other, like again, I feel like I'm going to overuse a word. The logistics part was so difficult, because it was just like, I wasn't in a market that had just, I could go to a facility and be around, like, an NWSL team. And so just for me, it was just, I just want to get back to where I feel like I'm healthy and I can, just, like, if that is a possibility. So I would say, like, around at like 5 weeks, like, I was basically, and again, I was like walking, jogging, like, this so small, but like,
oh my gosh.
But like, I guess it was really, I think, around end of December, January, when I had like a in-depth talk to Vlatko just about, look, like, I mean, at that point he was 3 months old. I just knew, being a new mom, like, I was going through everything so small, and I'm like, I just don't see, Zach was still in season. And then so I had a view of what season looks like, because, we've done distance our whole lives, and it just completely changes, right? Madden comes first in all aspects of that. So I just was just like, and he was like, well, how do you feel? And at this point, I was just pretty much shocking myself of numbers that I was getting. Like, obviously I have certain workouts, you have to hit times. I was hitting times a lot earlier than I expected coming back from pregnancy. And
that's the mom superpower, sister. That is mom's right there.
It was really crazy. And also, like, super motivating having my kid in, his car seat next to me, or I'm, pushing. I'm like, this is crazy. And yeah, at that point, I just kind of, I didn't know, I had no idea. I was, at that point, was just doing stuff for fun, because I just missed it. Like, I just, how do you, go from just, not doing it ever. And so that was kind of just an interesting time of, perspective for me, because I genuinely, said to Black, I was like, I can't do this. Like, there's no way.
I didn't go back to the national team, but I know I literally felt like a jellyfish. If there was a way to describe what a jellyfish feels like, it's like right after giving birth. It's like everything was doing its own thing and just kind of floating around. But then going to play in the second women's league for Gold Pride, that's exactly how I felt. It was like, I have this young person. I feel stronger than I ever have in a way that I didn't know that would happen. So that was surreal. Now, tell us about the Angel City. So you're going to Angel City, and what was that like coming into that environment at this stage of your career?
I think one great word is just eye-opening in the sense of the growth of the game. Like, I mean, I think the most incredible thing was the communication we had. Obviously, the owners are women who have kids as well, and so I, was able to learn from them as well. Let alone like obviously they were getting me to sign on as well, but just like, hey, they knew what I was struggling with, and just being like, I don't really understand how they were going to make it work, but we see you have a dream, and for them, like their Angel City is, to make dreams a reality, kind of is their view, to make it like this huge team in which they have. I mean, my first game was, was sold out every single time we were there. And so it was just like, it was being in this environment that really saw women's sports as the top, environment that they could make it. And then on top of that, I just really loved the girls. Like stepping away was really so hard, because when you know that there's like something special in an area, like, or within a team, you just feel it. I feel like you just know that too. I mean, you've been on plenty of teams, and, you're out, you kind of change, and, things change as well. And I just really loved it. Like I enjoyed being back at practice. It's kind of funny because, when you're doing something for so long, it just kind of becomes like mundane, or like, you're just kind of like, oh, another warm up, never that. But being out for so long, it just was like my perspective was just so different. And I got so lucky because I think, Ali Riley is like an incredible leader. And so she was great in the environment. And obviously I've known Sid for so long, and, seeing her raise two kids, kind of going through that process. Like it was just like such an incredible group of people that were really just trying to like, really the ultimate goal is, to do as well as we could. But like on an individual level, I just felt like they were really trying to help me figure out like what this looks like. And, that felt different every single day, because month to month, like, it's just crazy how different Madden would change. And so just my challenges just became different. And so I really loved my time there.
That's awesome. I think that's so exciting and interesting for me, because I now, as a part of Bay FC and that team that we're bringing here to the Bay Area, I can hardly wait to create an environment or support an environment for players to feel like you felt when you hit Angel City. We'll get into more NWSL in a minute, but I'm just going to go to the Q&A, and I'm just going to say it right away, Julie, because we got to get to it. Are you pulling a Tom Brady for the Olympics? Everybody wants to know. Everybody wants to know.
No, I honestly, like, I think already trying to make the decision of, stepping away was hard enough, like having to go through it again. But I will say I completely understand why athletes do it. Like I do.
Yeah.
It's really hard to say bye when your whole daily routine is based around that.
Right.
And we have two athletes here. So our routine was just like, all around the sport itself. So,
well, yeah. I, honestly, every day I think about like my best friends, the people that I graduated high school, college, got married, had kids. There was divorce, there's death. I mean, all the things that you do in life, I did with these players that I played with on the national team. So that is crazy. Okay, let's jump into NWSL and the last game that was just played. I'm hoping you got a chance to watch it. And thoughts, general thoughts, thoughts on soccer, and thoughts on future NWSL. Go.
I mean, I would say it was super entertaining. I thoroughly enjoyed the last 6 minutes, as I think everybody else did.
Oh my gosh. Was it 6 minutes, or was it like 16 minutes? Like it was
right. The last 60 minutes. It was so funny. I was watching it, and my husband was driving back from a dinner, and I was like giving him play-by-play, and literally I couldn't remember the rules. It's funny, for as long as you play, there's like certain things that rarely happen, like the end. And I literally was asking, because my husband's super also into like watching soccer stats, all that. Like you could ask him anything about like any team almost, because he plays FIFA so much. And I was like, wait, she's in the goal, but her hands are out. Like literally, I couldn't remember the rules because it's like so crazy. And then you're like, because, while you're training for a World Cup, like sometimes it seems so crazy how much you talk about any, like what would happen in the craziest thing, like all the way down to like, what if, a dog ran onto the field, like literally you come up with these crazy things. So you're so prepared. And, we had, who would be the goalkeeper next, who would be like, so we had all that kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
I couldn't tell if they had that prepped, or if like they were like, you're just going to be in goal and just pick somebody. And I was just like crazy. I also like enjoy, like, I mean, how could you not too? You have two legends playing, like,
Yeah.
so it was like so hard. It's also really hard, I feel like, when you know so many people when it gets to a final, because it's like, crap, like who are you going to, cheer for? Like, I want whatever to win. So I just really enjoyed watching it in that sense. And also, like, I would say I thoroughly I love to see Rose back. Just, I know she's been going through some injuries this year, so it was great. And I thought she was tremendous. And yeah, and obviously I enjoyed all the rest of it.
I had said before the game started, I think I have it on film saying Rose Lavelle is going to score a goal in this game. So I was 1-for-1 on that. I honestly was, I have to say, slightly bummed in that moment when the field player was in goal that she didn't get it past the wall. I was like, oh man, like, darn it, like just force her to make one save would have been.
If they had to go to overtime, like I think it would have been like
oh my God, could you imagine?
We were just going to be like the last 30 minutes just like in slow-mo. I was like,
but not only that, but you would have seen people shooting from like all different crazy angles, because now you got a field player that is reminiscent of the 1995 Women's World Cup. Mia Hamm had to step in for Brianna Scurry.
I remember
and the shirt was like this. It was like off of her. You couldn't see her hands. They were like stuck. And I also thought that was hilarious that they put the gloves on the player first.
Yeah.
And then they put the jersey on her and couldn't get the jersey over the. I mean, obviously, it wasn't really well rehearsed. Let's be honest. You're not thinking that that's going to happen.
Right. That's probably why, like, especially for U.S. soccer specifically, we talk about it, because it's happened in history. So.
Yeah, we have to talk. You have to talk about everything, and I think that's the for the team that's the most prepared. The best outcomes happen because you have to run through all the scenarios. And I think, yeah, I'm biased, I will say, but you're wearing Santa Clara, and I'm going to say I think Jerry and my husband Jerry at Santa Clara is like the detail monger, right? He's like, don't leave any stone unturned. It's right. We have to go through all of them. So, all right, Jules. So let's talk about you coming through NWSL and how the different stages of that influence your national team career. Because, I mean, let's be honest. Everybody starts somewhere. Everybody starts somewhere, and how much did your youth and your NWSL career influence your national team game, and I would say college game as well?
I would say tremendous, especially my rookie year, because I feel like I was kind of like a bubble player going in and out of the 23s with the full team. Like I would get a taste of it, I would go back to 23s, kind of come there. So wasn't like, I obviously was in my developmental phase, as most are, as there is a big transition. I mean, you're playing with the best players in the world, and especially with the experience. And then also look, when I came in, it was like, I remember my first camp, like I think I had to like pick my job because I was like passing the ball with Crystal, and like then you do a passing pattern. It's like I was saying Abby's name and Cheney's name and Boxy's name. You know what I mean? So you're just kind of like, what am I doing? And so I think with that too, I was going back and forth between defense and midfield, I think, at that point too. And so you're just kind of developing. And I think for me, like it was the second year with the NWSL, I get picked up by Chicago, and I wasn't making very much money in order to like obviously sustain the whole year. And I remember being like, if I kind of can't make it in kind of with this national team, I probably should go get a job. Like you know what I mean? Like a career job in that sense, like coming out of college, or actually I should have finished college, kind of that thing in my head. I was like, I need to go back. So for me, it was really amazing to have a league in, the States, so I could kind of develop in that way, be seen. Jill was watching. And so luckily for me, with Chicago, we were at that point, I think they were the last seed the previous year, the first year.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were definitely like a developing team in that way, but I was playing defense. So I got to go against the best players, that are with the national team every single time I played, which was great because I had to defend a lot the first year, like we did, which also helped me because it, exposed me to a lot of different type of players, and then, I was going up against, press and practice, but it was like going up against Alex, Abby, Sid, like all these players in the league. And so, cause I was being able to prove and hold my own kind of thing and develop, the NWSL really allowed Jill to watch me do that, where I'm not so sure how that would have worked if I was international, if that was my only other option. So yeah, luckily kind of towards that end of the season, I got in a little bit more with the national team. But yeah, I remember being like, Zach, I don't know if maybe I should kind of do a job like in the side. So, and I know that people did leave earlier in what their career was at that time because they just were like, okay, well, I need to, be able to, have a wage that I can.
Yeah, survive. Okay, we're going to go to the Q&A and we're going to ask Rachel, are we going to have the person ask the question? Or am I asking the question?
Yeah, we could pull up some folks. We've got some time.
Yeah, let's do it. We're going to have Alexa. Oh, I say Alexa so many times during the day. Alexa, help me find this. So here we are. We're going to have Alexa come and join us, and she's going to ask her question. Hi, Alexa. I think soon.
Maybe her mic.
Yeah, we'll see if we can get her mic on. If Alexa, if her mic doesn't pop in, then we can keep it moving. But Alexa,
well, at least we can see her while we're trying. Alexa, I love the coordinated top, hair, and glasses. Like that is like fire.
Thank you.
Yeah,
can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, it's the support women's soccer on that shirt too. So, all good things. So my question is, Julie, what do you hope to see for the future of the women's game? What areas of progress would you love to see? And I know this can definitely be on the field, but also clearly off the field. There's a lot of stuff we can do too. So what are you hoping to see in the next few years?
Alexa, where are you from? It sounds like the Midwest.
Yeah, I am from West Michigan, but originally Chicago area, but yeah, West Michigan now.
Well, I think the obvious one would be an Olympic gold and a World Cup gold. Like, I feel like that's the obvious.
Yeah.
I think just the developmental of these young players to being able to have kind of a more sophisticated style of playing and being able to kind of have that tactical awareness of a balance of keeping the ball, but also, being able to kind of read the game when it's like direct, as well as being able to kind of calm the game down. I think just being able to have a little bit more variety in the way that we attack. I think just the way the game is now and the talent that we have, I feel like we have so much athleticism in all of the field as well. So just like, I think the next layer of being able to kind of control the game with the ball will kind of really allow to dictate when we go and when it is to make the other team tired.
For sure. The composure piece. Yeah. I love that.
In that regard, Jules, who's responsible for that? Because, the national team players don't spend that much time together. So are you calling out like myself and other people who coach youth teams? Like that's our responsibility, I believe. But what are your thoughts there?
I think it can go in a bunch. I think there's just going to be a lot of change in the next few years, all the way down from the youth programs and beyond. I think just now the investment and availability of better coaches and like access, I guess, is getting better. And I think that goes down with our youth as well. I know that they're going to take a kind of a refreshed approach, is from what I'm understanding, starting with younger. I think U14 is the youngest, like, right, that U.S. Soccer has.
Yep.
And then I also think like the coaches also being selected in the NWSL have been of higher caliber. So hopefully to continue that as well. Because there is so much change, right? Like now we have youth players coming into the NWSL, which wasn't the case before. I mean, we have, some 18-year-olds that are stars as well. So I think really the development and understanding of that tactical sophistication, because just when you get to the national team level, like, yes, you can see in the NWSL, it's just so different because each team kind of in the NWSL has kind of around the same tactics type. It's just very similar. It's very American soccer as well. But then when you go and play other teams, you need to be exposed to the complete different way. I mean, when you play Japan versus when you play, Germany or whatever, it's just so different because culturally, and also as like players, like they just see the game differently, which is so beautiful, right? That this game could be played in so many different ways. And so I think just the exposure to different things, but being able to have like the comfortability to do both is really just kind of where you have to have this game.
Yeah, honestly, I've been disappointed in thinking that we couldn't do that already. Like our players at that level should do that. They should be able to read the game in that way. But I guess it's, within the tactics of each game model and plan of each coach, I think that's where the comfort may lie, setting the players up for success. Rachel, I'd like to ask Andrea Martinez if she could ask her question. And while you're getting that organized, I will just continue talking to Julie, if that's okay. Jules, who at U.S. women's national team training was the most inspirational or, like just the most impactful at practice, and why? It could be for all different reasons.
Gosh, I feel like I could say so many different names for different reasons. I'm just going to go what first comes to my head. Like I would say for my tenor, for sure, like a Kelly O'Hara in the sense of the competitive factor. I would say the energy and the standard level of just that aspect, I think has always been in the back of my head. I feel like I'm a big fan of Lindsay as well, just because I think, even from like younger when we played, she always just kind of wanted to play very differently sophisticated style with her feet. Like, I think it just like added a different thing. And just also, I feel like having a player like overseas, she's exposed to different stuff as well. So I feel like I really enjoyed that. And I've also known her for so long and seeing her developmental side. And I really enjoyed playing with her. Rose is the kind of player that's hard for somebody else to emulate. She's just on her own, like the way she plays and, her calmness on the ball. Like I think that was always like a big game changing thing as well. And then in the past couple years, obviously I was out, when I was pregnant for those times as well. But I think watching as well, you could see an impactful player. It was Mal, which was a really hard loss, I think, at the World Cup, just because even just things that people don't necessarily notice, but especially when I was watching the game when I was out, like I remember texting Blacko being like one of the reasons like I would also love to come back is play with like how Mal's playing right now. Gosh, how fun is it to play with a player like that right now? Because her reading of like spatial awareness on defense, like that's obviously what I look for, was so sophisticated at the time that she really helped the team in a lot of those wins. Obviously she was scoring. I think she was, on a roll of scoring for each of the games as well. But I don't think people were really talking about just her understanding of the defensive pressure and helping the next, like as a midfielder, I'm like, wow, I know exactly where they're going to force this person. I thought Mallory was doing a tremendous job at that. So if you're talking about game wise, like I know you said practice, but at those games, that was a game changer in these games, why they won. And I would say it was a big reason because it was because of her.
Awesome. Well, we'd like to welcome Andrea. You can go ahead and ask your question to Julie, please. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, Julie. My question is, in a 2017 interview, I remember that you mentioned that you have never really thought about not playing soccer. And when you were asked about that, you said that
press was kind of going through that same thing with me of just understanding like where our role was and what playing time, and she scored and did Sid, I know Sid, I think assisted mine. Did she also score in there too?
Oh God.
I know. I think she did.
I mean, I was there at the game. I remember, and I was like, I honestly can't believe my eyes. What is happening?
I think that was a memorable game for me because it really kind of, from then on, I was playing in the midfield pretty regularly. And I kind of just learned to just, I kind of laugh for this because obviously living in Philly, the whole saying of trust the process in that way is kind of silly. But like, yeah, and just, I just understood that and learned kind of the beauty of kind of going through the hardship. You learn a lot about yourself and kind of the player that you want to be. And my whole career has been off of about waiting for my opportunity. And that's just, most people's storyline. But I think for me, it was held true because instead of, sulking and all that, I just was able to find players to support me because all players have gone through it. So I think that was kind of, people get it. It's just tough, right? It's tough being on the national team. It's tough competing. Obviously it's fun and I love it. That's probably what I miss the most is competing, but every day your job's at stake. And that's why it's the environment it is. It's just, you have to compete. And so I would say that was obviously a big game for me.
Thanks so much, Gabby. Appreciate it. And thanks for joining Women in Soccer and being a part of it. Jules, I have to say, I couldn't agree with you more about the things that we don't want to happen to us when they happen, how much they impact things for the positive. I mean, I was on the World Cup team first ever, and then cut for the team, and I wasn't on the national team for 4 years. And to think about that now, to think how long that was when you talk about 611 days or whatever, I have never even done the calculation, and that's a lot of days away. Yeah. And what does it mean? And how do you get yourself ready, prepared, or stay in that mindset to be competitive and to trust the process that it's going to work out. But you don't know, but you have to go through it, I think, to really, truly. And I think you have to go through something. It doesn't have to be something grand. It doesn't have to be, I had multiple injuries, and it doesn't have to be that grandiose. It could just be something, right? We have to understand that hardship is just chance for an opportunity to grow. And if you embrace things like that, then great things can happen. So in your honest opinion, of course you give us your honest opinion because that's how you are, midfield defense. And I'm just going to remind you of the day when you were playing at Santa Clara, where I think you played in all three lines at Fresno State, and you ended up scoring a goal so that we could win the damn game. And like the end of the game, it was like one of those crazy games where you're like, we not win this game. And it's, we had to put Julie Chastain at the time. We had to throw her in as a forward because we needed a goal, and she was our go-to. So, but your favorite, what's your favorite and why?
So my favorite, I think, would have to be midfield. I think there's a beauty in also being a defender because even when I was young, I wanted to pride myself on being one of the best 1v1 defenders ever. Like that was my goal. So I think there's beauty in that. I think what I really love that challenged me in being a 6 and in a midfield was positionally reading the game where you can like have control of everybody, right? Because you're in the center. So it's like you can tell the front line what to do. You can talk to the back line. Like I feel like when you're in the back line, like giving information all the way to up front, it just takes more time, where I felt like being able to kind of be a chess player, I guess is the way I can explain it, where you can manipulate the other team. That's what I loved. I loved the challenge of, okay, because you could have a plan, right? Like you always have a blueprint of how you want to go into the game, but the players could show something else where, you could see a player that is just having a day, right? Like you're like, wow, like you were in this guy before, but you look pretty good today. Like let's, I think for that, that's what I loved about the game, was that it was just constantly changing. And my confidence built because I actually felt the more that I was in control and could communicate, the actually better I played. And so not that I wasn't talking all the time in the back line, but there's something about being a 6, and especially with the players that I was playing with, right? Like look at the midfield players that I was playing with when I was with the national team, was they trusted me. And like when you have players that trust you, like if I say, go left and they don't even question it. They do it and they intercept the ball. Like, I feel like I ran off of that, right? I ran off the trust and camaraderie and the like rah. I remember Morgan Bryant, sorry, Mo, would laugh at me. I don't even know if we were in Chicago when we were playing together or the national team, where she was like, "Are you okay?" Because the whole team, I was like, "Brilliant, great, yeah." And she's like, "Dude, like, I get it. It's great. It's going good." But it's just like, you know, the energy of just playing good soccer feels good. So I still remember this day, like, we were just like, she's just kind of laughing, like, and I can't remember exactly where it was, but those are also the memories that I love, right? The funny.
Yeah. So I had Julie Foudy in front of me and Michelle Akers. And I felt, as you know, as a back player, I did a lot of what you're talking about. And I would kind of, on the most levels, equate Julie Foudy to like a wild stallion, because she wanted to do everything. She wanted to run all over the place. And, you know, hard work was like, I mean, I love players who want to work hard, you know, but that's a common denominator. Everybody out there at this level is like busting their tail, right, to do the right things and be in the right positions. But she was just like in overdrive all the time. And I'd be like trying to pull her back or rein her in, or like you said,
I feel like I'd be
step left, step right.
My best games was when I like did less running, because it was like, if I could have the person in front of me win the ball before it got to me, then it's less running for me. And then at the 60th minute, I'm not that tired. So my best games were when I actually like ran less, because, you know, they calculate all the time, like all the GPS stuff. And so I knew I had like a really good game when my GPS would be low, because they'd be like, "Are you fit enough?" I'm like, "Hey, I am." Like, I have to do the beep test all the time. Like, look at my score. But like, I would rather have them just win it there and not have to run 50 yards back.
Yeah, I mean, I think to that point, I think that is absolutely something that our team has to embrace more, which is this concept of team defending, as opposed to like I think our mentality at the, you know, has always been pressure, right? We're gonna force the opponent to make mistakes, and we're going to counter that mistake with high intensity running and going to goal and being assertive and aggressive. But when that 1v1 defending breaks down in that overworking way, now all of a sudden dominoes start to fall, I think. And that was the one thing I really felt like, hey, Jules, if I can get you in a position where you're not expending so much energy and we can win the ball off interception, hey, you can have the ball more. You know, you could, which you love doing also, which is having the ball at your feet. And so, you know, yeah. So who in your team was the one that you had to, this is not distrust, this is not like you didn't listen, but like who you felt like, okay, you did a lot more talking to than maybe somebody else?
Gosh. I mean, I don't, not to where you were like, "Dude, chill," kind of thing. Like, none of that. I just feel like it was just, obviously I talked to people more so around me. I think, gosh, who would I talk? You know what? Well, I don't say this in negative, just because it was like, I didn't play center back at all. Then all of a sudden at the World Cup was playing center back. So like, obviously the back line, like, I don't think I talked to like Em or Nay as much as anybody I've ever had, but that was just because, okay, we don't have as much time like that we have, you know, played in minutes wise. So we'll just even accelerate over communication. So, but that wasn't to like reel in or anything. It just, that was, I think I just didn't shut up the whole time. Just because obviously I'm experienced enough to be there as well, but I'm also at the same time trying to learn the way that they play and read the game. So, but not in a negative way. I feel like anytime the ball got past us, me and they would look at each other just to like make sure we figured out that we were in the right way, communicating, like reading it the similar. But that's the only one I can really think of. Like, I don't ever really remember being like, "Oh my gosh, this person is, they, you know, they need like sandbags on their legs, like chill." Like, usually, like, I feel like when you're there or you've gotten called up, you at least have like a basic understanding.
Yeah, no, not in the understanding way, but just in the enthusiasm, or like maybe this just like, you know, let's be honest. I mean, I had some, like, again, I'm going to use Julie Foudy because I love her dearly. I think she's, you know, she is a tremendous trailblazer and a tremendous leader. But she also wanted to do so much all the time. And just to get her to be like, you know, like, okay, I can just sit in this position.
I'm sure I can think of one. I just can't think of one now.
Okay. Hey, Rachel, I got a quality control situation. Something came up on my screen saying I got 2 minutes. Is that it?
Yeah,
Is that right?
That is right. We are.
Okay. Julie. Okay, so I'm going to ask you some rapid fire questions. If you can say them in one word or not, this is the hardest for me. White or blue jerseys?
I like both. White. I like classic. Okay, white.
Classic. Okay. Favorite position? You already answered it. Olympics, World Cup.
I'll go Olympics because I didn't get to win one, so I'll say I'd won another one. But okay, World Cup because I won 2.
Most difficult opponent. Team.
Spain was pretty difficult when we played them in She Believes that one time. That was pretty difficult. And then I guess we always play Sweden. So
yeah.
We just
favorite player to hate, or just like, oh, that's always going to be, you know, that's a challenge. So Canada, you don't even have, you don't have to. I love that. That's awesome. But that's great for CONCACAF, right?
That's great.
It's awesome. And okay, so I'm going to get away from the hot shot, but like, why do you say that? Like, what's the most difficult part of playing against Canada?
I wouldn't say like difficult. I just think like it's just always like it's just like a battle. I don't know, balance of CONCACAF, I guess. I don't know. We play each other a lot in that
tense.
But yeah, I don't know. Like I think the stats are way towards us, but I just think like it's just one of those games. It's like always rowdy and like dirty and yeah.
That's awesome. Anything that you'd love to share with everybody listening now that you, besides saying that you want Santa Clara to win the NCAA tournament, what would you like to leave everybody with?
No, I'm so grateful for like all the support over my time. Obviously I'm still like, you know, sad, but I know it's the right decision for me. But yeah, I'm like super excited. I'm really kind of excited to see what the next steps is for me. And if there's anything to help in the next generation, I'm kind of leading for. And if anybody knows any young kids coming to Arizona, we're trying to get together a girls camp coming up. So excited to kind of for that. And so
I would say that if you put out, I would say if you put out one Instagram feed saying, hey, we're having a clinic in Arizona, I think you might have too many people.
Well, I hope so. I mean, I hope to help in any way I can. And, you know, I remember certain moments in my life that someone said something or, you know, did something or showed their time and it made an impact. So hoping to do that here. Obviously, I'm born and raised in Arizona, so be able to give back to the kids. So working on details and all that and everything. So I wish I had a little bit more details, but if you know any girls, say to keep on lookout.
Well, when you do, you can surely come back to Women in Soccer and Brandi's Corner, or you know, we want to support. That's the whole point of Women in Soccer, is to help young girls, young people, women, you know, maybe find their next job, find the next soccer opportunity. So this is your home. We will help you. We want to support you anytime we can. To everybody who showed up today, you rule. I love you. You're the best. You make what we do so worthwhile and impactful and important. Julie, I want to be on your team forever. I really value you, as I said at the beginning. I think, you know, I really wish we were in the same era. We would have had so much fun playing together, because not just for the competitiveness, not just for the understanding of the game. I think we kind of show up with the same type of values about, you know, how to get stuff done and why we're out there. So I'm really grateful for you. I know you use that word a lot, and I certainly am grateful for all that you do. Congrats to Zach on the victory yesterday. That's great. More of those hopefully to come. And hopefully we'll see you again soon, showing wherever it is you want to show up. But you're always welcome here.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. I chose the corner of the room on purpose. Brandi's corner, and I'm also in the corner.
Nobody puts baby in the corner though, Julie. Just remember that.